Okay, if you like this video, subscribe to my channel, but let's get right to it. Midway. I just got back from a matinee. It's Sunday. This video is going to air tomorrow on Monday. I will be at the hospital with my wife, who's having a baby, so we're really excited about that. But I did want to catch a matinee of Midway before everything starts getting crazy tomorrow. So I really enjoyed this film. After seeing Terminator Dark Fate last week and just being completely disappointed, I needed something that was going to be a good lift me up kind of video or film. And Midway did a great job. Roland Emmerich, once again, he's had a couple of missteps there as of recently, but this film to me puts him back on top in top-notch form. It reminded me a lot of when Roland was in his prime, doing, the original Independence Day. Like, it was a rallying kind of movie. It had an all-star cast, and I'll get into some of those details in a minute. One of the things that stood out to me was it was just beautiful, beautiful to watch. Every shot was gorgeous. The lighting, the cinematography, because it was a period piece film, all the costumes were fantastic, the accurate. It reminded me of like watching the History Channel, but on steroids. It was just really, really good. So Ed Skrein, I guess that's how you say his name. He played the lead in this, Dick Best. These were all based on real historical figures. It wasn't like with Pearl Harbor where I felt like or like what they did with Titanic. They took a historical event and then they put some sort of love story in it that had nothing to do with what had really gone on, whether it was Pearl Harbor or Titanic. This one was, everybody was accurate. And the writer of this, Wes Took, did a great job putting this all together. So Ed Skrein played this character named Dick Best, who flew these aircraft off an aircraft carrier. He was one of the bombing guys. And the whole movie really revolved around him, although everyone else had their role. This was an ensemble cast, much like Independence Day, where there's multiple stories going on that overlap. And like I said, it was just a really, really good story. I will say that Ed, I liked him in Deadpool. He was also good in Alita Battle Angel, but he's playing a guy from northern New Jersey. And as somebody who was born in Jersey City, New Jersey, his accent wasn't very good. Like, it was a little like he was trying too hard, to like really, really sell it. And it just didn't, like, it kind of pulled me out of it when his scenes were going on, except when he wasn't as animated. There were some scenes where Mandy Moore played his wife in this, and Mandy Moore is like a doppelganger. My wife is a doppelganger of Mandy Moore. Everyone says she looks like Mandy Moore. And she played Ann Best, the wife, who kind of stayed behind back in Pearl Harbor. And there were some quiet scenes where they were in bed and stuff. And when he was talking to her, and he wasn't very animated, his accent sounded really good. But when he was on the ship and he's chumming it up with guys, it was and everything was just kind of, it was a little over the top. Patrick Wilson really commands the screen when he's on camera. Patrick Wilson was one of my favorite parts of this movie. It's really hard to find a bad movie that Patrick Wilson, or maybe the movie wasn't bad, but every time he's in a role, he really gives it 150%. And I totally bought that he was this character. He was like a code cracker. He ran the intelligence aspect that kind of dropped the ball with Pearl Harbor, even though he tried to warn them. But then him and his team came up with all the intelligence for the strike at Midway. So that's where they went on the offensive. So Woody Harrelson was in this film. He played Chester W. Nimitz. And I believe there's an aircraft carrier, the USS Nimitz, that's named after him. He, obviously was in charge of the Pacific. Luke Evans was in this. He played a pilot named Wade McCluskey, and he did really good with his accent. I have to say, I bought that he was almost just he had a classic look to him too, with the thin mustache and everything. And I just bought everything he was selling. Dennis Quaid was in this. Aaron Eckhart played Jimmy Doolittle, who was shot down on an island, and the Chinese helped him escape the Japanese. And anyway, long story short, Aaron Eckhart, damn if he doesn't look like he should have been born and actually been around during World War II. He's got the classic, the chin there, everything. And he looked just like, at the end of the movie, when the credits rolled, they would freeze frame on an actor like Aaron Eckhart. Then they would tell what happened to him in real life, how he ended up after the war or whatever. Then they would show a historical photo of that person, which to me was the best part of the movie. I mean, granted, the action sequences, the dog fighting, the aerial stuff, the bombs, the bombing runs, everything was exactly what you would expect with today's special effects. The CGI was great. All the planes looked fantastic. Everything was good. But it was the historical context that at the end of the credit roll, where they put up every actor. Dennis Quaid told about his character and what happened to him, and then showed a historical photo. It was really good, and it was educational at the same time. But I will say, there was one actor that really stood out to me in this film, and I was kind of shocked, because I kind of was like, oh, really? Nick Jonas? They put one of the Jonas brothers in this movie? Really? He's trying to cross over? Now look, I know I was pessimistic going into this, knowing that he was. I saw him in the previews, with the gun turret or in the back of the plane and all that kind of stuff. Dude, he was really good. Okay, so just like Justin Timberlake and a lot of other actors or other entertainers that start off in music, or like with Justin Timberlake, he was a little bit of an actor first before he went into the boy band stuff. They have talent. Okay, there's no doubt about it. And they can sell emotion in the music videos and all that. But I always get nervous when they start crossing over into films. Like, can they really pull it off? And Nick Jonas played a character who his name was Bruno, and he was. I can't spoil it because of what happened to him in the movie, but he was really good. And he, again, like, he had the little Errol Flynn thin mustache going, and everything. And I was surprised. And the thing about it is, all of these actors are peppered throughout the movie. So you're not watching a full movie with Nick Jonas or Dennis Quaid or Mandy Moore or Luke Evans. This is completely ensemble. And you're following all these threads from all these different people and what they went through. And they're just tying it in seamlessly to the Battle of Midway. I have to say, all of the Japanese actors were fantastic. Everything that they did was subtitled. There was a couple of conversations that were in American, but for the most part, it was all subtitled, which it should be. And it tried to show that both sides had bravery and sacrifice and loss. It wasn't by any means sympathetic to the Japanese who lost the war and did, horrible things, the kamikazes, the torturing of POWs and things like that, during World War II. I mean, there's a scene where they take a character. Now, you know what? I'm not even going to say that and spoil that, but there's a scene where they do something really horrible to a sailor, an American sailor, the Japanese. And, you're just shaking your head going, damn. And that was the thing. Like, it is Veterans Day is Monday, and which it's a Sunday, so that would be tomorrow. And this movie people should go see for its historical now, if you compare this to like the old school Midway that was shot back in the day, you can't because visually they're apples to oranges. But I will say that you could tell there was a lot of love that went into this film, especially by Roland Emmerich and Wes Took, the writer. They really went out of their way to tell what they believe is the true story of Midway, how we got there, the slip up, at Pearl Harbor, where they were getting the intelligence, but it was so convoluted with steps and how to get through rank that they never got the messages that Pearl Harbor was going to get hit. Those kind of things. They weren't sure when it was going to happen, but they thought it was going to happen. And then, seeing how they decrypted all of the different intercepts from the Japanese in order to piece together bits and pieces to figure out that it was Midway. That was the next thing. And then to see, the destruction of several of the Japanese aircraft carriers, and to see him go down. And what the best part I thought about the film in general was the beginning of it showed what happened at Pearl Harbor, but it was maybe 4 minutes of the entire film, the beginning. This was really about getting to Midway and the Battle of Midway. So we've already had our movies like Pearl Harbor that showed what happened and stuff. So they didn't harp on that really awful day in history. They showed it, but it was done in a very tasteful way because their story was Midway, not Pearl Harbor. So they spent about 4, maybe 5 minutes at the beginning of the film kind of covering to get everyone up to speed, to let everybody know what was going on. And there were a lot of text that would go up that would say, 641 on November's, 1942, blah, blah. And so you were being kept, if it got a little crazy because you're following all these stories, you were kept in the loop by titles that would come up. And this is an all around great film. I saw a preview the other day, or a trailer the other day for it, that Fandango was putting out that showed a lot of soldiers that were alive that fought in Midway, a handful, watch it, and they kind of relive this thing, and they were crying and stuff. I will say I had a lump in my throat, and I didn't cry, but it was very emotional. And just in subtext, I remember when I went and I saw Saving Private Ryan, and I saw it in a sold out crowd, and I've only seen Saving Private Ryan twice. I saw it once in the theater, and it had such a profound impact on me that I only saw it once after that, because I didn't want to get numb to the storyline or to the violence that happened on D-Day. And so when I saw this trailer with Fandango that Fandango put out showing the soldiers that had been there in the Pacific, getting teary-eyed and reliving it and saying they really the movie captured this, it reminded me of when I saw Saving Private Ryan, because I remember sitting in a theater and the first 10, 15 minutes were just completely brutal. And I remember sitting there, and then when it got to Normandy, there was a scene in the film where a soldier is standing there picking up his arm and just standing there in the middle of all this chaos, and he's got his arm in his hand. And I remember seeing about 10 or 15 rows down from me, someone get up and start to walk towards the exits. And when the person passed me, he had on a World War II hat, and with medals and stuff on it. And he was crying. And I broke down in tears seeing him walk past me. And so there are movies in history that we need to see that affect us in a way to not let us forget the sacrifices that veterans go through, whether it's the Iraq War, the Persian Gulf War, Korea, the Korean War, Vietnam, etc., Afghanistan. Like, these soldiers went through so much, especially in World War II, and sacrificed so much for us as a whole, that, when they say things like never forget, you really don't want to forget this, because the freedoms that we have, even down to being able to say whatever the hell we want, freedom of speech on YouTube, goes back to these guys. Because if these guys would have lost, like they said in the movie, they said, if we lose this, we're all speaking Japanese. And that was a line that stuck with me in the film. And so like I said, everybody did a fantastic job. Roland Emmerich did a everyone should be so proud of this film, and everyone should go see it, just to understand what some of these soldiers and military people, the generals, the admirals, everybody, what they went through to win the Battle of Midway. So that's it. Did you guys see Midway? I saw it in a PDX theater, a large screen in PDX with beautiful surround sound. All the explosions, the rumbling was fantastic. What did you guys see it in IMAX? What did you guys see? Let's talk about it in the comment section, and we'll see you on the next one. Happy Veterans Day, and I'm gonna be a dad, so it's all good. Tomorrow's gonna be a great day. Monday's gonna be a great day. Veterans Day is gonna be the great day. So thank you very much. We'll see you on the next one.